The morning shift began like any other aboard the Galactic Research Station Harmony. Dr. Kong Min-ho walked through the curved corridors, his coffee still warm in his hands. Outside the viewing ports, the contested moon of Velthera spun slowly. Below them, its purple surface, dotted with research camps and mining operations, Min-ho had been working on the station for 3 years now. As the only human behavioral specialist among the crew of 200 aliens, he often felt like an outsider. But he loved his work studying how different species interacted with each other, and with the native creatures of Velthera he entered the main laboratory where his colleague Velenith was already busy at work. The Thrick scientist looked like a giant praying mantis, with 4 arms that moved independently as she sorted through data crystals. Her compound eyes reflected the morning light as she turned toward Min-ho. "Good morning, Min-ho," she said in her clicking voice. "Did you sleep well?" "Well enough," Min-ho replied, settling at his workstation. "Any interesting reports from the surface teams today?" Before Velenith could answer, another voice joined their conversation. "Nothing too exciting." "Yet," said Kekstara, the Solarian scientist. Her crystalline body caught the light and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the walls. Though the Kalvani team in Sector 7 reported some unusual animal tracks near their camp, Min-ho nodded and began reviewing his own research data. He was working on a project about predator behavior patterns on Velthera. The moon had some of the most dangerous creatures in the known galaxy, but also some of the most fascinating. Understanding how they hunted and lived could help future colonists stay safe. The 3 scientists worked in comfortable silence for almost 2 hours. Then the station's emergency alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed along the corridor walls. The alarm made a deep, pulsing sound that meant immediate danger. Min-ho had heard it only twice before during his time on the station, both times for minor equipment failures. "All senior staff report to the command center immediately," announced Commander Yoon Ha-jin's voice over the communication system. Her tone was calm but urgent. Minho, Velenith, and Kekstara looked at each other with concern. They quickly saved their work and hurried toward the command center. Other crew members were moving through the corridors with the same worried expressions. The command center was a large circular room at the heart of the station. Holographic displays showed maps of Velthera's surface, orbital patterns, and communication channels. Commander Yoon stood at the central console, her face tight with concentration. She was a small woman by human standards, but her presence filled the room with authority. "What's the situation, Commander?" asked Dr. Park Ji-ho as he entered. The chief xenobiologist was breathing heavily from running through the corridors. Commander Yoon turned to face the gathering senior staff. "We received a distress call from the Kalvani research team in Sector 7 20 minutes ago. They encountered a Ragathaw." The room fell silent. Min-ho felt his stomach drop. Everyone knew about Ragathaws, even though few had ever seen one. They were the apex predators of Velthera, massive creatures with 6 powerful limbs and scales harder than most metals. They were also highly intelligent and extremely territorial. "How bad is it?" Dr. Park asked quietly. "Very bad, Commander," Yoon replied. She activated a holographic display showing the distress signal location. "The creature has them trapped in their research pod." "But that's not the worst part." She paused and looked around the room at the faces of her crew. Min-ho saw Velenith's antennae twitching with nervousness. Kekstara's crystalline form had dimmed to a worried blue color. "Our sensors indicate the Ragathaw is pregnant," Commander Yoon continued. "A gravid female protecting her nesting territory." Several crew members made sounds of distress in their various languages. Min-ho knew why. Pregnant Ragathaws were legendary for their fury. They would fight to the death to protect their unborn. Young, and their psychic abilities became much stronger during this time. "What are the Kalvani reporting?" asked Dr. Kim Sun-woo, the station's linguistics expert. Commander Yoon activated an audio file. The sound that came through the speakers made everyone in the room step back. It was a deep, rumbling roar mixed with what sounded like psychic screaming. Even through the recording, it made Min-ho's head ache. "The creature has been circling there pod for over an hour," Commander Yoon explained. Its psychic emanations are so strong they're causing equipment failures in a 3-kilometer radius. The Kelvani can't use their weapons, their communication is breaking up, and their life support systems are starting to malfunction. Have they tried the standard pacification protocols? Asked Velenov. Everything they could manage with failing. Equipment, the commander replied. Sound dampeners, sonic barriers, even emergency flares, nothing worked. If anything, the creature seems to be getting more agitated. Dr. Park moved closer to the display showing the creature's location. How long do the Kelvani have? Their pod can hold out for maybe 18 hours with limited life support, Commander Yoon said. But the Ragathaw's stress levels are off the charts. If it doesn't calm down soon, the psychic pressure could kill both the creature and its unborn. Young, and if that happens? Minho asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. The ecological disaster would be catastrophic, Dr. Park replied grimly. Ragathaws are keystone species. The death of a pregnant female would trigger a chain reaction that could make large parts of Velthera uninhabitable for generations. Commander. Yoon nodded, which is why we need solutions fast. I'm calling an emergency council session with representatives from all the major species. We need every idea, every technology, every diplomatic protocol that might help. As the senior staff began to disperse to prepare for the emergency session, Minho remained behind, staring at the location marker on the holographic display. Something about the situation felt familiar, but he couldn't quite place what it was. Minho? Commander Yoon's voice brought him back to the present. Are you all right? Yes, Commander, he replied. Just thinking about the behavioral patterns we've observed in Ragathaws. This level of agitation ... It's not just territorial aggression. What do you mean? Minho looked at the data streaming in from the surface sensors. The psychic emanations, the way it's circling but not attacking directly, the equipment failures. This creature isn't just angry, it's terrified, Commander Yoon frowned. Terrified of what? Ragathaws are the most dangerous predators on the moon. That's what we need to figure out, Minho said. Because whatever is scaring a pregnant Ragathaw that badly might be the key to calming it down. As he left the command center to prepare for the emergency session, Minho couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something important. Somewhere in his memory, there was a piece of information that could help. He just had to find it before time ran out for the trapped Kelvani team, the terrified Ragathaw, and possibly the entire moon of Velthera. The emergency council session began 2 hours after the first distress call. Representatives from 12 different species gathered in the station's main conference room. The air was thick with tension as translators worked to convert the various languages and communication methods into something everyone could understand. Dr. Kong Minho sat near the back of the room, listening as each species offered their traditional solutions. The Thrix representative, a tall warrior named Clichter, spoke first through his translator device. We have sonic dampeners that can interfere with most creature neural pathways, Clichter announced. Our military uses them to control dangerous animals during combat operations. Commander Yoon nodded from her position at the head of the table. How quickly can you deploy them to the surface? Within 1 hour, Clichter replied confidently. The sound waves will disrupt the creature's brain functions and force it into a calm state. Next came the Solarian ambassador, a being named Luxandra, whose crystal body glowed with soft blue light. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. My people have perfected harmonic crystal formations, she said. These create peaceful resonance fields that can soothe even the most violent minds. We have used them successfully on 12 different worlds. The Xanthari delegate raised one of his 4 arms to speak. His species looked like upright lizards with silver scales that reflected the room's lights. The Xanthari Collective offers our advanced behavioral modification technology. We can target specific brain regions and alter aggressive responses without harming the creature. One by one, each species presented their solutions. The Vorthak had energy weapons designed to stun large creatures. The Kelari possessed mind-linking devices that could force emotional states. The Draxi offered powerful tranquilizer compounds that worked on most known biology types. Minho noticed that every solution involved technology or force. None of the alien representatives seemed to consider that the creature might need something other than control or sedation. "These are all excellent suggestions," Commander Yoon said when the presentations finished. "We'll coordinate a multi-species response. The Calvani team doesn't have much time left." As the council session ended, the various alien teams began preparing their equipment. Minho watched from the observation deck as ships launched from the station's docking bays, carrying the sonic dampeners, crystal formations, and other technological solutions toward Valthera's surface. Dr. Park Ji-ho joined him at the viewing port. The chief xenobiologist looked worried as they watched the rescue fleet descend toward the moon. "Do you think it will work?" Dr. Park asked. Minho studied the ships growing smaller in the distance. "I hope so. But something feels wrong about this approach." "What do you mean?" "All these solutions assume the Ragathaw is acting purely on instinct," Minho explained. "But Ragathas are highly intelligent. What if there's a reason it's so terrified that goes beyond simple territorial behavior?" Before Dr. Park could respond, alerts began flashing on the nearby communication console. They could hear excited voices speaking in various alien languages over the ship-to-station channels. "First wave deploying sonic dampeners now," came Clickter's voice through the translator. For several minutes, they listened to the Thrix team's reports. The sonic dampeners had been positioned around the trapped Calvani pod and activated at full power. Initially, there seemed to be some success. The Ragathaw's psychic screaming decreased slightly, then everything went wrong. "The creature is moving toward the dampeners," reported Clicker, his confident tone now replaced with concern. It's destroying them with its tail. The sound seems to be making it more angry." Within minutes, all 6 sonic dampeners had been smashed to pieces. The Ragathaw's psychic emanations increased to levels even stronger than before. Equipment aboard the rescue ships began failing as the creature's fury grew. "Solarian team, deploy your crystals immediately," Commander Yoon ordered over the communication channel. The crystalline formations were dropped around the creature's position and activated. Beautiful, harmonious tones filled the air as the crystals attempted to create their peaceful resonance field. For a brief moment, the Ragathaw seemed to pause and listen, then it charged directly at the largest crystal formation and shattered it with its massive claws. The harmonic field collapsed instantly. The creature's bioluminescent markings shifted from amber to deep red, a color that meant extreme aggression in Ragathaw behavior patterns. "Crystal formation destroyed," reported Luxandra, her wind chime, voice now shaking with disbelief. "The creature appears to view our peace resonance as a threat." The Zenthari behavioral modification attempt failed even more quickly. Their technology required the creature to remain still for several minutes, while brain scans were performed. The Ragathaw destroyed their scanning equipment before the process could even begin. One by one, each technological solution failed. The Vorthic energy weapons couldn't penetrate the creature's natural armor. The Kellery mind-linking devices caused the Ragathaw to emit psychic bursts so powerful they knocked the operators unconscious. Even the Draxi tranquilizer compounds had no effect when fired from a safe distance. As each failure was reported, the mood in the station's command center grew darker. Minho watched the alien crew members become more frustrated and desperate. Some began suggesting more extreme measures. "We could use orbital bombardment to create a distraction," suggested one military advisor. "Absolutely not," Commander Yoon replied firmly. "That would definitely kill both the creature and its young." "Then what do you suggest?" asked Clickter's voice over the communication system. "Every known method has failed. The creature seems to be getting more agitated with each attempt." Dr. Kim Sunwoo, who had been monitoring the creature's vocalizations, looked up from her analysis station with a pale face. "Commander, I'm reading something disturbing in the audio patterns. The Ragathaw's calls, they're not just anger anymore. There's genuine terror in those sounds." "Terror of what?" "Commander," Yoon asked. "I think," Dr. Kim said slowly, "it's afraid of us, all of us. The different technologies, the various species, the ships in orbit. Something about our presence is making it believe its babies are in mortal danger. Minho felt pieces clicking together in his mind. The creature wasn't just protecting its territory. It was a frightened parent facing what it perceived as an overwhelming threat from unknown enemies. Every attempt to help had only confirmed its worst fears. How much time do the Calveni have left? He asked. Commander Yoon checked the latest reports. 14 hours, maybe less. Their life support is failing faster than expected due to the psychic interference. And the creature, Dr. Park consulted his biological readings. Its stress levels are approaching fatal limits. If they don't decrease soon, the shock could kill both the Ragatha and its unborn young. As if to emphasize the point, another wave of psychic screaming rolled across the surface and reached the station. Several crew members grabbed their heads. In pain as the creature's terror and rage washed over them, Minho stared at the tactical display, showing the creature's position. Somewhere in his memory, something was trying to surface. A similar situation, a different time, a younger version of himself facing a terrified creature that everyone else wanted to control with technology and force. "Commander," he said quietly, "I think I might have an idea. But it doesn't involve any technology at all." Commander Yoon turned to look at him. "What kind of idea?" "The kind that got me interested in behavioral studies in the first place," Minho replied. "Sometimes the most advanced solution is also the most simple one." Commander Yoon studied Dr. Kang Minho's face carefully. Around them, the command center buzzed with frustrated voices as the alien rescue teams reported their continued failures. The Ragatha's psychic screaming had not stopped for over 6 hours. "Now, what exactly are you proposing, Minho?" she asked. Minho took a deep breath. "I need to access the historical archives. There's something I remember from my graduate studies that might be relevant." "We don't have time for research," interrupted Clickter's voice over the communication system. "The creature has started attacking our ships now. 2 of our vessels have suffered hull damage." "Please," Minho said urgently, "give me 30 minutes. I think I know why the creature is so afraid." Commander Yoon hesitated, then nodded. "Dr. Kim, help him access whatever files he needs. Everyone else, maintain safe distance from the creature, but keep monitoring." Minho hurried to the archive station with Dr. Kim Sunwoo close behind. His fingers moved quickly over the holographic interface as he searched through decades of research records. Finally, he found what he was looking for. "Here," he said, pointing to a file dated 23 years ago. "Joint expedition to the Ragatha homeworld. I was just a graduate student then." The file opened to show images of a lush planet covered in deep forests and crystal formations. Young Minho appeared in several photos, standing next to much older alien researchers. He looked eager and nervous in equal measure. "What happened on this expedition?" Dr. Kim asked. Minho scrolled through the mission reports until he found the entry he remembered. "On day 12, we encountered a juvenile Ragatha caught in an abandoned mining net. The creature was maybe a quarter the size of an adult, but it was terrified and struggling so hard it was injuring itself." He showed Dr. Kim the photos of the trapped creature. Even in the still images, they could see the panic in its large eyes, and the way its bioluminescent markings flashed in distress patterns. "The other researchers wanted to use standard extraction protocols," Minho continued. "Tranquilizers, sonic pacifiers, mechanical restraints. But something about the way the creature looked at us, it reminded me of a frightened child." "What did you do?" "I convinced them to let me try a different approach first," Minho said. "I sat down about 10 meters from the trapped Ragatha and just started talking to it." Dr. Kim looked confused. "Talking? But Ragathas don't understand human language." That's what everyone said," Minho replied. "But I wasn't trying to teach it words. I was trying to show it that I wasn't a threat." He accessed an audio log from that day and played it back. His much younger voice filled the command center, speaking in soft, calm tones to the trapped creature. "I told it about Earth," Minho explained, as they listened. "About my home, my family, my fears about being so far from everything familiar. I told it about my mother, how she used to calm me down when I was scared by singing old songs. I just kept talking, letting it hear that I was not angry, not aggressive, not trying to hurt it. The audio log continued for almost an hour. Gradually, other voices could be heard in the background as the alien researchers watched in amazement. The young Ragathaw's distress calls became quieter and less frequent. "It worked," Dr. Kim said with wonder in her voice. "Better than anyone expected," Minho confirmed. "After 2 hours, the creature let me approach close enough to free it from the net. It didn't try to attack or run away. It just looked at me with these incredibly intelligent eyes, and I knew it understood that I had helped it." Commander Yoon had been listening from across the command center. Now she approached the archive station with a thoughtful expression. "You think the current situation is connected to this old encounter?" she asked. MIH. O nodded. "Ragathas have lifespans of over 100 years, and they have excellent memories. If that juvenile I helped is still alive, it could be anywhere in this star system by now." "You think the creature on Velthora might be the same one?" Dr. Kim asked. "Or one that learned from it," Minho replied. "Ragathas are social creatures. They'd pass information through their pod groups. If word spread that humans could be trusted... He was interrupted by another wave of psychic screaming from the surface. The command center's lights flickered as the creature's terror reached new heights. Several crew members staggered as the mental pressure hit them. 12 hours remaining for the Kalvani team," reported Dr. Park Jiho. "The creature's stress levels are critical. We're running out of time." Commander Yoon made a decision. "Minho, are you suggesting that you go down to the surface and try talking to this Ragathal?" "Yes," he said simply. "It's the only approach." "We haven't tried." The command center fell silent except for the ongoing reports from the failed rescue teams. Every alien crew member stared at Minho as if he had suggested jumping into a star. "That's suicide," said Velenoth, her compound eyes reflecting her shock. "No being has ever survived close contact with an agitated pregnant Ragathal. Humans are different," said a new voice, Dr. Lee Sojin. The station's human psychologist had entered the command center. "I've been monitoring the situation and analyzing the creature's behavioral patterns." She approached the central display and called up her analysis. "Humans have emotional range and empathy levels that are unusual among galactic species. We can project genuine care and understanding through vocal patterns, body language, and even chemical signals. Are you supporting this insane plan?" asked Kekstara, her crystalline form pulsing with worried colors. "I'm saying that Minho might be the only one who can reach this creature," Dr. Lee replied. "Look at the pattern of failures. Every technological solution has made the situation worse because they all seem threatening to a frightened parent. But human emotional communication transcends species barriers." Commander Yoon studied the tactical display showing the Ragathar's position. The creature had not moved from its nesting area, but its psychic emanations continued to cause equipment failures across the surface. "The Galactic Council will never approve this," she said quietly. "They'll order us to use more extreme measures before they risk a human life on an untested approach." "Then don't tell them," Minho said, "at least not until after I try." The commander looked around the room at her mixed crew of humans and aliens. Every face showed different expressions of concern, fear, hope, and desperation. "Dr. Park," she asked, "what's your professional opinion? Could Minho's approach work?" The chief xenobiologist considered carefully before answering. "Traditional protocols have failed completely. The creature's behavior suggests it's operating on pure maternal instinct, which means emotional approaches might be more effective than technological ones. It's risky, but... He paused and looked at Minho. "But humans do have a unique capacity for interspecies empathy. If anyone could calm a terrified mother protecting her young, it might be someone who understands both fear and compassion." "Commander." Yoon closed her eyes and made the hardest decision of her career. "Minho, prepare for surface deployment. But you follow my conditions absolutely. Full monitoring, emergency extraction ready, and if I give the order to abort, you return immediately." Understood, Commander, Minho replied as he left to prepare for the most dangerous mission of his life. Minho felt both terrified and hopeful. Somewhere on the surface below, a frightened mother was protecting her unborn children from what she saw as a threat. He had to show her that at least one of the strangers in orbit meant no harm. The question was whether she would remember a young human who had once helped a scared juvenile, or whether 23 years had been too long for even a Ragathaw's excellent memory. The shuttle bay felt colder than usual as Dr. Kong Minho prepared for his descent to Velthara's surface. He wore only light protective gear, avoiding anything that might seem threatening to the Ragathaw. No weapons, no heavy technology, just basic life support and a communication device. Dr. Kim Sunwoo worked beside him, adjusting the audio equipment that would let her monitor his conversation with the creature. Her face showed deep concern as she checked each connection. The creature's vocalizations have become more complex over the past hour, she explained. I think it's trying to communicate something, but the meaning is unclear. What kind of patterns are you seeing? Minho asked as he tested his equipment. Fear, definitely, but also something else. There are harmonics in its calls that I've never heard from a Ragathaw before, almost like ... questioning sounds. Commander Yoon entered the shuttle bay with Dr. Lee Sojin. Both women looked tense as they approached Minho's shuttle. Final equipment. Check complete, Commander Yoon announced. You'll land 2 kilometers from the trapped Kelvani team. That should be far enough to avoid startling the creature, but close enough for quick extraction if needed. Dr. Lee handed Minho a small device. This will monitor your stress levels and emotional state. If you become too frightened or overwhelmed, it will alert us immediately. I understand, Minho replied. But I won't be able to help the creature if I'm focused on my own fear. I need to project calm and safety. Just remember, Commander Yoon said firmly, your safety is my responsibility. If I order you to return, you return immediately. Minho nodded and climbed into the shuttle. As the bay doors opened and he began his descent toward the purple surface of Velthara, he tried to calm his racing heart. Through the viewing port, he could see the other rescue ships maintaining their safe distance from the creature's nesting area. The landing was smooth. Minho stepped out onto the rocky ground and immediately felt the weight of the moon's slightly higher gravity. In the distance, he could see the damaged remains of the various technological solutions scattered around the landscape. Broken sonic dampeners, shattered crystals, and twisted metal from failed capture attempts. The Ragathaw was about 1 kilometer away, its massive form coiled around what appeared to be a carefully constructed nest. Even from this distance, Minho could see the creature's bioluminescent markings pulsing with agitated red and orange patterns. I'm beginning my approach, he said into his communication device. We're monitoring everything, came Dr. Kim's voice. The creature has noticed your landing. Its vocal patterns just changed. Minho began walking slowly across the rocky terrain. He kept his movements relaxed and non-threatening, his hands visible and away from any equipment. As he drew closer, the Ragathaw's massive head turned in his direction. The creature was even more impressive up close. It stood nearly 4 meters tall at the shoulder, with 6 powerful limbs and scales that seemed to absorb and reflect light in shifting patterns. Its eyes were large and intelligent, showing an awareness that was both beautiful and intimidating. Minho. The creature is moving, warned Commander Yoon's voice through his earpiece. Be ready to retreat. But the Ragathaw wasn't approaching aggressively. Instead, it seemed curious. Its head tilted to one side as it studied the small human walking toward it. The bioluminescent patterns on its scales shifted from angry red to cautious amber. When Minho was about 50 meters away, he stopped and sat down on a large rock. He wanted to show the creature that he posed no threat, that he was not trying to trap or control it. Hello, he said in a calm, gentle voice. I know you're scared. I know you're trying to protect your babies. The Ragathaw's eyes focused on him intently. Its massive body remained coiled around the nest, but its aggressive posturing relaxed slightly. I'm not here to hurt you, Minho continued. I'm here because I think you might remember me. A long time ago, on your homeworld there, Was a young Ragathal caught in a net, do you remember? Something extraordinary happened. The creature's bioluminescent patterns suddenly shifted from amber to deep blue, a color that indicated intense curiosity in Ragathal behavior studies. Its head lowered until it was almost at ground level, bringing its large eyes closer to Minho's. Position. Minho, came Dr. Kim's excited voice. The creature's vocalizations just changed completely. It's making sounds I've never heard before. The Ragathal began to approach slowly. Each step shook the ground slightly, but its movements were careful and deliberate. It was studying Minho with the intense focus of a highly intelligent being, trying to solve a puzzle. I sat with that young Ragathal for hours, Minho said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I told it about my home, about my family. I told it that it was safe, that no one wanted to hurt it. The massive creature stopped just 10 meters away. Its breathing was deep and regular, no longer the rapid, panicked pattern it had maintained for hours. The psychic emanations that had been causing equipment failures across the surface began to weaken. My name is Minho, he said. I helped free you from that net 23 years ago. I sang to you while you were scared. Do you remember the sound of my voice? The Ragathal's response was unlike anything recorded in galactic history. It lowered its great head until it was almost touching the ground in front of Minho. Then it made a sound that was part rumble, part musical tone, and part something that could only be described as recognition. Commander, Dr. Kim's voice was filled with wonder. I think it remembers him. The creature's stress indicators are dropping rapidly. Minho slowly stood up from his rock. The Ragathal watched his every movement, but there was no fear in its eyes now. Instead, there was something that looked remarkably like relief. You do remember, Minho said softly. You remember that humans can be trusted. You remember that we don't always solve problems with weapons and technology. The creature made another complex vocalization. This time, the sound carried harmonics that suggested questioning and hope. Your babies, Minho said, understanding. You're worried about your babies. All these strange ships and aliens and technologies around your nest. You think they're here to hurt your children. The Ragathal's bioluminescent patterns shifted too. A deep purple color that meant sadness and worry. It looked toward its carefully constructed nest, then back at Minho. I understand, he said. You're going to be a mother. The most important thing in the universe is keeping your children safe. But these other beings, they're not here to hurt your babies. They're scientists like me. They study life because they want to protect it. As if responding to his words, the Ragathal took another step closer. Its massive form no longer seemed threatening. Instead, it reminded Minho of every worried parent he had ever known, regardless of species. Minho, Commander Yoon's voice came through his earpiece. The Calvani team reports that their equipment is coming back online. The psychic interference is decreasing. Good, Minho replied quietly. I think she's starting to trust me. Now I need to show her that she can trust the others too. The next hour changed everything anyone thought they knew about Ragathal intelligence and emotional capacity. Dr. Kong Minho found himself in the middle of the first true interspecies emotional dialogue ever recorded with one of the galaxies. Most feared predators, the massive creature had settled into a more relaxed position, though she never moved far from her nest. Her bioluminescent patterns had shifted to soft blues and purples, colors that indicated curiosity and cautious trust rather than fear or aggression. Tell me about your babies, Minho said gently, settling onto the ground in a comfortable sitting position. When will they be born? The Ragathal responded with a complex series of vocalizations that seemed to contain multiple layers of meaning. Dr. Kim, Sunwoo's voice came through his earpiece with real excitement. Minho, I'm analyzing her vocal patterns in real time. She's not just making random sounds. There are grammatical structures here, emotional modulations, even what might be temporal indicators. The creature looked toward her nest, then back at Minho. She made another sound, this one lower and more musical. I think she's telling you about the timeline, Dr. Kim continued. Based on the harmonic patterns, I'd guess her eggs will hatch. Within the next few days, Minho nodded toward the Ragathaw. Soon, he said. Your babies will be born soon, and you want to make sure they're safe. The creature's response was immediate and emotional. Her patterns flashed brighter, and she made sounds that could only be described as worried agreement. I understand, Minho said. When my sister had her first baby, she was so scared. She worried about everything. Was the room too cold? Too warm? Were there too many strangers around? Would something happen that she couldn't prevent? As he spoke about human parenthood, something remarkable happened. The Ragathaw began to move closer to her nest, inviting Minho to follow with careful gestures of her massive head. Minho, Commander Yoon's voice carried a note of concern. She's leading you toward the nest. Are you sure this is safe? I think, she wants to show me her eggs, Minho replied quietly. This is unprecedented. No Ragathaw has ever shown a nest to an alien species. He followed the creature slowly, maintaining the calm, non-threatening demeanor that had worked so far. The nest was a marvel of engineering, built from carefully arranged stones and what appeared to be crystalline formations that provided both protection and temperature regulation. Inside the nest, 3 large eggs pulsed with soft inner light. They were beautiful, like living jewels that seemed to contain entire galaxies within their translucent shells. They're magnificent, Minho breathed, his genuine wonder evident in his voice. The Ragathaw made a sound that could only be described as proud and pleased. Her bioluminescent patterns shifted to warm gold and green colors. She's responding to your emotional authenticity. Dr. Lee Sojin's voice joined the conversation from orbit. Your genuine appreciation for her offspring is triggering positive responses in her maternal instincts. Minho knelt down near the nest, careful to maintain a respectful distance. Your babies are going to be strong and intelligent, just like their mother, and they're going to know that not all aliens are dangerous because their mother learned to trust one. The Ragathaw settled beside her nest, keeping Minho in sight but no longer viewing him as a threat. She began making softer sounds, almost like a lullaby. Dr. Kim, Minho said, are you recording all of this? Every second, came the reply. This is the most significant breakthrough in xenobiology in a century. She's sharing her maternal communications with you. Good, now I need to help her understand that the other species mean no harm either. Minho began explaining the situation. In simple terms, describing how different species had their own ways of showing care and concern. He talked about the Thrix and their protective instincts, the Solarians and their harmony-seeking nature, the Kelvani and their scientific curiosity. They all came here because they heard you were in distress, he explained. Different species have different ways of helping, but they all wanted to make sure you and your babies were safe. The Ragathaw listened intently, her large eyes focused on his face as he spoke. Occasionally she would make questioning sounds that Dr. Kim was learning to interpret as requests for clarification. The sounds that scared you, the lights and technologies, they weren't weapons, Minho continued. They were attempts to help, but your baby's safety was more important than anything else, so you fought back. The creature's patterns shifted to what appeared to be understanding mixed with regret. She looked toward the scattered remains of the failed rescue attempts visible in the distance. It's okay, Minho assured her. No one was hurt, and everyone understands why you were frightened. Being a parent means protecting your children, even when you're not sure what the threats are. As their communication continued, Minho began to notice something else. The Ragathaw was not just listening to him. She was teaching him as well. Her vocalizations became more complex, and Dr. Kim's translations revealed that she was sharing information about Ragathaw family structures, nesting behaviors, and even basic concepts about her species' relationship with their environment. This is incredible, Dr. Park Jiho's voice joined the conversation. She's treating you as an equal in an intellectual exchange. Ragathaws may be far more socially complex than we ever imagined. The breakthrough came when Minho asked if she would be willing to meet some of the other species with him present, as a translator and mediator. The Ragathaw considered this carefully, her patterns cycling through various colors as she thought. Finally, she made a series of sounds that Dr. Kim translated as cautious agreement with conditions. She wants them to approach slowly, without weapons or loud technologies, Dr. Kim reported. And she wants you to remain visible at all times. Understood, Minho replied. Commander Yoon, could we arrange for a small delegation to approach on foot? Maybe Dr. Park and one or two others? I'll coordinate with the other species. Commander Yoon's voice carried obvious relief. Minho, you may have just prevented a disaster that could have affected this entire star system. As the first small group of alien scientists began their careful approach toward the nest, the Ragathal remained calm. Her bioluminescent patterns showed watchful alertness, but not fear. You're going to be a wonderful mother, Minho told her as they waited for the others to arrive. Your children will grow up in a galaxy where different species can understand each other, thanks to what you're teaching us today. The creature's response was a complex harmony of sounds that needed no translation. It was the universal language of gratitude, hope, and maternal love that transcended species barriers. For the first time in galactic history, a Ragathal was choosing trust over fear, and the consequences of that choice would reshape how all species approached interspecies relations for generations to come. 6 months after the incident on Velthra, Dr. Kang Minho stood in the newly constructed Interspecies Communication Center aboard Research Station Harmony. Through the large viewing ports, he could see ships from dozens of different species coming and going, all part of the expanded research program that had grown from that one remarkable day. The rescued Calvani team had recovered fully and had become some of the strongest supporters of the new diplomatic protocols. Their research pod had been converted into a monument on Velthra's surface, marking the spot where everything changed. The Galactic Council vote was unanimous, Commander Yoon Hajin announced as she entered the center. She looked much more relaxed than she had during the crisis. Humanity has been officially granted special status as emotional ambassadors for dangerous first contact situations. Minho smiled as he watched a human-led delegation preparing to depart for a newly discovered world where another aggressive species needed careful approach. How many requests have we received this week? 17, replied Dr. Lee Soo-jin from her new position as Director of Human Diplomatic Services. 3 more species have specifically requested human mediators for territorial disputes, and the Xanthari Collective wants our help with a family of creatures that have been attacking their mining operations. The transformation had been remarkable. Within weeks of the Ragathal incident, species across the galaxy had begun requesting human involvement in situations where traditional technological solutions had failed. The unique human capacity for emotional connection and empathy had proven invaluable in dozens of different scenarios. Dr. Kim Sunwoo approached their group, carrying a datapad with the latest reports from Velthra's surface. The eggs hatched yesterday, she announced with obvious excitement. 3 healthy juveniles, and their mother is allowing our research teams complete access to study their development. How are they responding to different species? Minho asked. Remarkably. Well, Dr. Kim replied. They show no fear of aliens whatsoever. It's as if their mother's trust has been passed down to them genetically or through early learning. This was perhaps the most significant long-term impact of the incident. The young Ragathas were growing up with the understanding that aliens could be friends rather than threats. As they matured and eventually had offspring of their own, this trust would spread throughout the Ragathal population. Dr. Park Ji-ho joined their conversation, his face showing the satisfaction of a scientist whose theories had been proven correct. The ecological surveys are complete. The mother Ragathal's recovery has stabilized the entire moon's ecosystem. We're seeing species returning to areas that had been abandoned for decades. And the mining operations? Commander Yoon asked. Proceeding smoothly with full Ragathal cooperation, Dr. Park reported. Having the apex predator species as active partners rather than obstacles has increased efficiency by 300%. The economic implications had been staggering. Velthera's rare mineral deposits were now accessible in ways that had never been possible. When the Ragathas were viewed as dangerous obstacles to be avoided or eliminated, the cooperation between species had created prosperity for everyone involved. There's something else, Dr. Kim added with a mysterious smile. The mother Ragatha has been teaching her young ones to make specific sounds. Dr. Park thinks they might be trying to learn human language. Minho felt a warm feeling in his chest. The idea that the Ragatha family was actively trying to communicate with humans showed a level of reciprocal respect that went far beyond mere tolerance. Have there been any attempts to contact other Ragatha populations? He asked. The Thrix have reported success using human-designed protocols on 2 other worlds, Commander Yun replied. Instead of approaching with military force, they sent small teams including human emotional specialists. Both encounters resulted in peaceful contact. This was the broader legacy of that day on Velthera. The incident had forced the galactic community to reconsider their approach to dangerous species. Instead of assuming that superior technology and force were always the answer, they had learned that sometimes the most advanced solution was also the most simple, genuine care and understanding. Chime sounded through the communication center. Indicating an incoming priority message, Dr. Lee activated the holographic display, and the image of an elderly Calvani appeared. This is Research Director Kexmuth from the Calvani Science Academy, the figure announced. I wanted to personally thank Dr. Kong Minho and the human species for their intervention during our crisis on Velthera. The Calvani's formal tone softened. As he continued, 6 months ago we faced certain death. Today, my team has published the first comprehensive study of Ragatha maternal behavior, made possible only through the trust established by human emotional diplomacy. This research will benefit all species for generations to come. After the message ended, the group stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Finally, Minho spoke. It's strange to think that everything started because I remembered a scared young creature from decades ago. That's exactly why it worked, Dr. Lee replied. You didn't see a dangerous predator or a scientific specimen. You saw a frightened parent trying to protect her children, and you responded with empathy instead of fear. Commander Yoon nodded. The other species brought their best technology, their most advanced weapons, their most sophisticated protocols. But you brought something they couldn't replicate or understand. Genuine emotional connection. As they talked, another ship approached the station. This one carried the distinctive markings of a Ragatha transport vessel, something that would have been unthinkable just months before. The mother Ragatha requested permission to visit the station, Dr. Kim explained. She wants to show her young ones the place where their first human friend lives. Minho felt his eyes grow moist with emotion. The idea that the massive creature considered him a friend and wanted to share that friendship with her children represented everything hopeful about the future of interspecies relations. There's one more thing, Commander Yoon said quietly. The Galactic Council has asked me to inform you that you're being considered for the highest civilian honor in known space, the Award for Universal Peace. I don't need awards, Minho replied. Knowing that those 3 young Ragathas will grow up in a galaxy where different species can understand each other, that's reward enough. Later that day, as Minho watched the Ragatha transport dock with the station, he reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy was still vast and full of unknown dangers, but it was also full of potential friends and allies waiting to be understood rather than conquered. The docking bay doors opened, and the massive form of the mother Ragatha appeared, followed by 3 much smaller versions of herself. The juveniles looked around the station with bright, curious eyes, showing no fear of the alien environment. When the mother Ragatha saw Minho waiting for them, her bioluminescent patterns shifted to the warm gold and green colors that meant joy and friendship. She made the complex harmonic sound that Dr. Kim had learned meant gratitude and affection. Welcome to Harmony Station, Minho said, approaching slowly as he had that first day on Velthera's surface. I'm honored to meet your children. As the young Ragathas gathered around him with obvious excitement, Minho realized that this was just the beginning. Somewhere in the galaxy there were countless other species waiting to be understood rather than feared, and humanity had found its unique role in building those bridges of understanding. The greatest technology humanity possessed was not their ships or computers, but their capacity to see beyond fear and aggression to the universal emotions that connected all intelligent life. And in a galaxy full of wonders and dangers, that might be the most valuable tool of all.